Liberate yourself. Liberate yourself. Free your mind. You know exactly. You know exactly who you are. Free your mind. Liberate yourself. Liberate yourself. Gotta free yourself. Go on. You better free yourself. Free your mind. Liberate yourself. Gotta free yourself. Go on. What you bad self. You can do it. Free yourself. Gotta free yourself. Go on. You got your bad self. Free your mind. You got this. Free your mind. You got this. Liberate yourself. Gotta free yourself. Free your mind. What's your bad self? Free your mind. Gotta free yourself. Go on with your bad self. You got this.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Today I know sirens in the fucking background.
I can't even hear it, bro.
Well, that's good. I want to start off this morning before I even say anything. I want to take a moment to say rest in heaven to the rapper from Migos, Takeoff, was murdered this morning in Houston.
Say that one more time. You broke up there a little bit for people who couldn't hear.
The rapper Takeoff from the group Migos was murdered, killed this morning in an incident at a bowling alley. And I just want to take a few seconds here to a moment of silence because another black man was just killed over senseless violence. So I definitely want to just take a few minutes here and if you got a lighter, if you got a candle, light it up. But I just want to take a few seconds, like 10 seconds of reflection for Takeoff. So. And with that being said, you're tuned in to the Urban Conservative. I'm Chaz Neal, an activist based out of Minnesota. And with me today, co-host John Taylor Tolan, executive producer.
Grand Rising, everybody. Hope you are well and blessed. Again, rest in peace to Takeoff. And thank you for having me on the show this morning, Chaz. It's always a pleasure.
Always. And we are being brought to you by the Leon Block Independent Media. We are all about transparency, truth, and accountability. The Urban Conservative is about the news on the streets, gun violence, crime, politics, and how we solve our community's most hardest issues. How can we change our communities for the better? Let's get back to family, community, foundational roots. Let's make sure nobody gets left behind. Shut up and help. Today, you're gonna really talk about the Willie Lynch letter. Is it a myth or is it the truth? there's so many different speculations. Something that was written in 1712, does it play a part today? And honestly, that could be anybody's per se, whatever they want to believe. I guess I leave it up for you, for the people. But I honestly, in my mind, and the things that I see in today's time, and when you read this letter, see, you can't just read the letter, because you have to go in more context than just reading something that is just 4 pages long. You have to get into the makings of a slave, because there's a whole other. This is just a letter. Now there's a book, or actually I should say a manifesto, whatever the hell they want to call it, scripture, something, a textbook, whatever. But there's various. One just came across on my Citizen app. Rapper killed in Houston, Texas. And that's what's sick is, like, if he wasn't a rapper, it would just be another black man killed. But the fact that he has money, he has stature, he had talent, and now they're gonna make money off of that talent. And like I said, and I'll keep on saying it, that even poor, we are worth more dead.
Always. Always.
So just really want people to understand that. And as we get into this, the Willie Lynch, you'll start to really see that a lot of the things that you're seeing is why we can't unify as black people. And I want people to understand is we can't take everybody with us. All skin folk ain't skin folk. So, and that even if we go back to even Harriet Tubman, I remember hearing on the Underground Railroad days that some of the words that Harriet said is that people, not everybody gonna make it. Not everybody's gonna want to come along. So you got to be okay with leaving those people behind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because are you gonna do it for? Are you gonna quit just because that one person doesn't believe in it? Are you gonna do it because it betters everybody? That's what you got to think about, because then that's the difference between
not everybody wants to get on a plane. Not everyone wants to get on a train to get to the destination that everyone else wants to go to.
Right. So you got to be okay with leaving people behind sometimes. And I'm okay with that at this point. I used to not be, but now I see that some people are just too brainwashed or too blind or too easily compelled over money that need to be left behind, because you can't trust them. People, we see it all through history. And this is why I do believe that the Willie Lynch letter is true, and that it's played out even more relevant today than it has ever been, I would say, in about 100 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's more and more every day that you see it. So if people do not, and I don't believe that this is something that they wanted the everyday black man or woman to see either, because this speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the bank of the St. James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. The term lynching was derived from his last name.
I think there's not many people who know about that either.
Right, I don't think there is either. I think we've all heard of the Willie Lynch letter at some, especially if you're black, you've heard some kind of mention of it.
Right.
And even if you listen to rap, I know that the Ghetto Boys used to talk about the Willie Lynch letter a lot. I know Killer Mike has talked about it in his raps. I know T.I. has talked about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm right. So if we go back to that older rap, the conscious rappers, I think they talked about, oh, that's beautiful. These things a lot. So on December 25th, 1712, he starts the letter off by saying, "Gentlemen." Now I want people to realize this. Now catch this, because he doesn't start it with, you know, how most to anybody and everybody. He says, "Gentlemen." He didn't say gentlemen and gentle. I don't know if you would say gentle women back then, but definitely did not mention women. I greet you here on the bank of the St. James River in the year of our Lord, 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods of control of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. I greet you here. Oh, whoops. As our boat sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and the rope on occasions. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple miles back. You are not only using valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not need to elaborate. I am here to enumerate your problems. I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. So 2012. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves and make the differences bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control. Now, I want to talk about this for a little bit because he says, I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and that he makes the differences bigger and uses fear, distrust, and envy for control. What do we not see today?
Right. I was gonna say, think about where we are now.
Right, because I definitely don't trust half the people that I see out here. That's insane.
See it right there on the screen. Boom. I've outlined a number of differences among the slaves. And I take these differences and make them bigger.
Right. It makes them bigger, makes them more of an issue.
I use fear, distrust, and envy. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Where do you think the terms light skin and dark skin came from? Why do you think it wasn't just because the transatlantic slave trade ended and they needed to continue to breed us domestically? They also saw it as a means to conquer and divide us even deeper by having the house nigga versus the field nigga. That was a way to continue to conquer and divide us, keep us separated and keep us dominated and controlled, especially considering the fact that slaves, black enslaved Americans, outnumbered masters and family members and white people in general 4-1, I believe it was, in the American South at the height of enslavement during our history, or what we think of as enslavement, at least.
Right. And you talk about, so we're going to get into it because these methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it'll work throughout the South. Take the simplest list of differences and think about them. On the top of my list is age, but it's
Hold on. Stop right there, because I was just about to say that. What it says here on the screen. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male. So what do we see today?
right.
There's a whole generation from the war on drugs that has separated the youth from the elders. Do they communicate now? Are they on the same page now? Do the elders bring the youth in? No, they don't even want to deal with them. The youth is lost.
And why is that? Because there's a lot of reasonings for that, though. It's more to do with just age. Because honestly, when I feel this one is such a great one, I honestly believe, because this one, it breaks it down into all of the reasonings of majority of why they keep us divided and why we can't unite, especially when it comes to black people, because the first one they try to use is the ageism.
Right.
It's not even just ageism, because it's, to me, it can be ageism and rankism at the same time. Because they say you were wet behind the ears, we don't have the education, or we don't have this, we don't have that. No, maybe you're just too embedded into a system to think another way. But they don't understand that. Because you're always going to fear something that you don't understand.
Facts. But fear promotes growth if you lean into it.
Right. And they only start with age because it starts with an A. Think about that. The second is color or shade. Then there is intelligence, size, sex, size of plantation, and status on plantations. So that, so if we look at it, you had the difference between a field Negro and a house Negro. And I think I sent you something earlier too, and I want to play it here in a little bit. It was that TikTok,
yeah.
With the from Conscious Lee, I think it was the lady's name. Oh yeah, John on the internet. Oh, he got to be from the East Coast. Not many. That got to be Philly. It got to be an East. Not many people use John.
Y'all done with you. Yeah, that's true.
No, for real, because I got family on Philly.
Philly thing. It's a
right.
thing.
Sorry to get distracted. But yeah, when you think about that, it's crazy, because that's everything that you see. But how they use it today is they intelligent. Just because you're college educated doesn't mean that you're educated.
Talk about it.
Make you smart. Because if that's the case, why the hell we ain't got no reform and change when we got all these black lawyers that have doctorates, that want to call themselves attorneys, but don't know the difference between an exception and a prohibition.
They don't know shit about shit except what they study for. And I'm sorry, but that's not an intelligent.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Because, I was sitting there. It's crazy that we're talking about this, because I had a conversation with a young man the other day, and I was telling him he should go be a cop. He said he wouldn't mind that, but you got to go to school for too long. I said, what do you mean? What, you got to go to school for too long?
Yo, to be a cop is less time than it takes to be a fucking barber.
But see, no, I get what he's talking about, because you do, from what I've seen on the application, because I did look it up, they do want you to have at least 2 years of college, or even 4. They want you to have some kind of law enforcement either associate, certificate.
You
Right.
should.
So why not just go to why don't I don't understand why not just have a police academy that instills it all?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
They
why
don't- they
if
don't
there's
want-
they don't want to, but right, because I see all of these programs that, and I'm sorry, this is kind of off base a little bit, but I just while we're talking about it, because I thought about that, and why not just have a police academy that instills all of it, and that way they get on the field
I know
training.
they do have police academies, but it's not something that is consistent, like cohesive amongst the whole nation, you know?
But it should be. I think that's something that we should really go
Right.
back to, because I think that's the way we can change the culture. Because if you really look at it, it's a team. Right. See, now, Jacqueline, you make a very good point. And this is the thing. They do get to have continued education. The problem is there isn't enough checks and balances to make sure that every officer is
Right.
doing their continued education. And that's one thing that I am learning when I go to these meetings, or even that came out in the Chauvin trial, that there's a lot of the times that even in the Potter, it wasn't the Chauvin, it was the Potter, that, and this is what makes me sad about the whole Dante Wright situation, is that we have officers out here that aren't even, they're trained, but they're not even fully confident in their training and be out.
Right.
So that's one thing that I have learned from the last couple
We're
trials.
happy and scared at the same time.
Right. And if you're scared and you're not trained properly, you're gonna make a mistake.
But on another side tangent, why is it become the norm and culture for police to be scared? Aren't we supposed to be the ones that are supposed to be scared?
I sit here and
right, Jack, and they don't have. It's not mandatory for them to go through any of that.
It is. Some of it is mandatory. I've looked at some collective bargaining agreements. Now, there's certain things that but see, it's over a span of years, right? It's over a span of years. Now, people have to really consider this, because now they have to do. Now we pay for this. You look at I don't know where you live, Jacqueline, but if you look at your city council,
Northeast Pennsylvania,
and honestly, John Tell might even be able to better even vouch for this a little bit, because he was ran for city council, and if he doesn't know this, he probably shouldn't have ran. But when it comes to that, because everything is voted on, so this is one thing that I did learn, because all the checks that a city pays is on the agenda. It's usually on the consent agenda. It's something that the public doesn't even see unless you're looking for it, right? So, but you'll see all the checks that your city pays out. Now, if you look at it, you'll see officers' names, because I see it all the time. We pay for their hotels, their training, and their food while they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Every rep. And
the police station here, I don't know about, Minneapolis is a huge ass city, but Lancaster's 60,000 people, small ass 2 square mile city, right?
Right.
They got a fucking whole spa in their police station.
See,
fitness center, everything. Like the place is top notch. We got drones and military vehicles and all kinds of shit. For what? Mm-hmm. For what? And where's the money for all that coming from?
Taxpayers. You vote. You guys vote on that every year.
And if citizens, and that's my point, if citizens wanted to know, they would see that. It's
right.
It's public knowledge. People just don't. And like for our society, we have to have things thrown in our face for us to give a fuck. And even then, it's not consistently thrown in our face. We don't give a fuck the next day when we wake up. While we on that note, why is everyone still talking about Kanye? You brought up this TikTok video talking about Adidas and Kanye and Chanel, and I think people are talking about this because it has to do with the money that they don't have.
Right. Yeah, and this is somebody that actually worked for Adidas.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, she actually worked for Adidas.
Let's go ahead and get into that clip real quick.
Definitely, because she's
that outfitted the Hitler Youth.
Was someone who worked at Adidas for exactly 12 months as Director of Social Impact for North America. I actually wrote a post on LinkedIn that went pretty viral talking about my experience there and also related to Kanye West. I think it's important to note a few things.
Adidas is not alone, whether we're talking about Henry Ford, who purchased his hometown newspaper to promote anti-Semitic rhetoric, or Coco Chanel, who was a known Nazi informant. There are dozens of banks that have been linked directly to the slave trade.
And really, any brand or institution that is older than 50 years probably has shady connections to white supremacy.
Talk
Why?
about it.
Because white supremacy built capitalism.
Yes.
Still maintains its power in almost every industry around the world.
Yes.
So I think it's important that when we talk about Adidas, and yes, we should continue to hold Adidas accountable. We should talk about all the institutions and corporations that are making money off of the trauma and victimization of people around the world, even today.
Adidas is a company that
That is
outfitted the
golden.
Hitler Youth.
All of that is golden.
she dropped it. And you know what's crazy is that people won't even pay attention. People won't even pay attention because she just spitted it.
All of
People
it.
got to know their history.
For real.
Anything older, and I'll agree with her 100%. Anything older than 50 years, and anything, I'll put it like this: anything over 100% guaranteed, you can put on white supremacy and racism. Because it's not that long ago. People have to remember that 1965, 1968 ain't that long ago.
Right.
Our parents were that era. Well, mine were, anyways.
But she just ran it down from Adidas to Nazi connections to Coco Chanel to HBCUs. You know what I mean? We can go into even the UK and European countries and how they ransacked the whole continent of Africa, from jewels to treasures, and they have it on display in their museums and won't give it back, despite countries and governments in the whole continent of Africa constantly, respectfully demanding their things back. And they're saying, "Oh no, this is ours. This is why this is ours, because no, you need proof." What do you mean? That's clearly our shit. Give it the fuck back.
Right. Just like, did you know what's crazy? That White Lives Matter is trademarked
Wow.
by two black people.
Really?
Out of Phoenix.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But Juneteenth is trademarked by white people.
It didn't happen. They revoked it because people went up in a firestorm about it.
No, so did they revoke the trademark?
They did revoke it. So they pulled it because of the backlash, but also because there was already a young black man that was putting in a trademark under the name Juneteenth Joy. So it was also a conflict. I think that person was going to threaten to sue along with the public outcry over this white man trying to trademark Juneteenth for like ice cream. But and that's like that was a blessing right there that happened. But that also indicates that, like, when public outrage over something happens, look what we can sway.
Right. Oh,
this motherfucker, he could get away with that shit. We wasn't having it. So think about that going into the future, y'all, of what we can actually do when we come together and actually don't have stuff. We don't want to let stuff go on. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we want to boycott something, we can actually boycott. When we can threaten our tax-paying dollars, our money, black money, goes a long way and has a lot of power in this industry. Look at all the different designers, like she was pointing out, that we actually support, that actually did harm us and other quote-unquote minorities all throughout history and still do, but yet we still fund them and make them what they are.
Right.
If we decided to walk away today and say we're not spending another cent on anything that you are because of what you enacted, they would fall to the ground.
So
think about the power that you hold, people.
There's actually a part in this that in the Willie Lynch letter that actually plays a part in this today that we're talking about. It says that the black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years and maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male.
Yep.
The young black male against against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. It is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them.
Now hold on. Let's break that down real quick. Stop, because let's talk about voting really quick and the Democratic bloc and the Democratic Party and how black people can only fit into certain molds that they tell us that we have to fit into, and if we don't, we're an issue, we're a problem. What did Biden say? You ain't black if you don't vote for me. What is that saying? What is that saying about what he thinks and what he thinks America thinks and white Americans think and what the rest of other cultures think about what it means and what it's supposed to be black?
Right.
What does it mean to be black?
And he ain't even black.
He ain't even black. What does it mean to be American?
You know what's crazy? Obama didn't even say that if you ain't black if you don't vote for me.
Because if he said it, black Americans wouldn't have went along with it.
Right.
But you had a white man telling us that people just accept it.
Right. Right. Just like what they're telling us, what is anti-Semitic?
We're extremely critical of our own, just like we are of Kanye West right now, right? So we had to be extremely critical of Obama because we didn't want him to make us look bad. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if he said something like that, we would have flipped the fuck out. How dare you make us look bad like that? Now, Biden, on the other hand, we have to sweat it off because how dare we criticize someone? How dare we criticize how dare we bite the hand that feeds us?
Right. And that's how it always is because we don't have no wealth. Even if, I guarantee it, if Jay-Z came out and stuck by Kanye West, he would lose everything that Kanye's losing.
Oh, yeah. Just like Candace said, there's so many people in Hollywood, in the industry right now, black and white and whoever else, that actually agrees with them, stands by them, but their other powers that be are telling them to shut up, to stay out of it. Right. Why do you think that is? I wouldn't be surprised if Jay-Z agrees with them too, but Jay-Z's smart.
Oh, yeah. It's always the same thing, and they don't want to tell us the lesser of two evils, right?
Yep.
How is I don't understand how they're the lesser of two evils, the Democrats, when they connive, lie, cheat, and steal, but at least with the Republicans, they do it right there in our face.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that the lesser of two evils? Because they sneaky and do it, that's the lesser of it. So we shade lesser because they don't do it right there in front of our face. Well, I think it's time for people to cut the grass so they can see the snakes.
Ooh, talk about it.
For real. Because I don't know how many times, and I talked about this when I first started this podcast, and I've talked about it for the last 2 years, is that I don't know how many black politicians that have came to me or I went and talked to and have told me that them seats have changed them because they don't have the control. They don't have the power. I swear to God. And I love some of my local black politicians. I love them to death, some of them. But a lot of them, they act so differently when they get around these white people.
Yep.
And only certain white people, they get around these uppity elitists. And I'm talking about Mayor Frey. I'm talking about Steve Kramer, because a lot of them say nigga and all of that, but they get around these white people, don't talk like that. Yep. I don't want to change who I am. I don't want to go into a meeting with a suit.
Code switching is one thing, right? Because it's a matter of survival in society. But when you become a tax-paying citizen, when you become someone that is paid to represent us, you have to stand out and aside that, and you do have to remain like who you are. You can't fold. You can't have that code switching. I don't think.
I don't
Not
see.
behind closed doors. Like
I
you have
want
to
to be.
be who the fuck you are and stand into it. Like put it this way. The one thing that I do like about what's homeboy's name? Dude, Chris Smalls with the
Okay.
all right. So the one thing I do like about him, right, is that he's not walking up into these executive meetings wearing a suit and tie. He may be wearing expensive shit, which I don't like because it's hypocritical as far as like, you know, the things that he's supposed to be talking about and doing, right?
Right.
However, I do like the fact that he's not folding and trying to appeal to them at the same time. And I
Right.
think that that's something that politicians, if they practice in what they preach and say that they're representing the people, they stay dressed as they are and being who they are. They don't have to walk into these white spaces and assimilate. They walk into these white spaces representing the communities that they motherfucking come from. That's how we affect these changes.
That's why they don't like the Chaz Neals. They don't like the Marcus X Smiths. They don't like the John Tell Tolans. They don't like the Todd Grammets because they want us to go in there and to be like them. They want us to go in there, be all uppity. I'm not uppity. I don't want to. I'll tell you right now, the first time I ever wore a tie, I was at that Republican event. I ain't never dressed up like that, even for weddings.
Nah, you know what's formal to me? A dashiki.
Oh, see, I don't even know what the hell that is.
I walk up in there with a dashiki on, but not a fucking suit and tie.
Right.
Get back to the roots.
And I don't mind it. I don't mind dressing up, but I like being me. I don't like having to fit in with other people. Like I don't like that. I like being me. I like being me because all I know how to be is me.
Talk about it.
I don't want to be somebody else because then when you can't be you, you're not you no more. That's not the truth. That's why I see all of these people that talking about, oh, you should be more like him. Why? I don't want to be fake. Because if, people be like, oh, you're on probation. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. My finger slipped.
Oh, you good. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I want to be me. I want to be Chaz Neal. I want to be the only person that I know how to be. Because I shouldn't have to change who I am to be heard, to be listened to, because my experience is just as much as any other person in America. Because we all have, and I don't even like, I really want to get away from the opinion piece of it because I like to call it a life perspective, because we all have a life perspective. My experience might be different than John Till's. It might be different than Katie's. It might be different than Jacqueline's. But that doesn't make it any lesser of the truth. It just means that my experience is different. So when I say that all cops are bad, I mean it because that's my perspective. Because I've literally been around other officers that have seen bullshit and yet haven't said nothing. So how is that not bad? That's what I don't understand, because I look at community members the same way. They sit here and see our babies being slaughtered, or they see their baby daddies out here selling fentanyl to our kids and killing them, but yet ain't saying nothing because you don't bite the hand that feeds you. Does that make it right? Hell no. We got to start calling it out. And when that comes, that means our leaders too, regardless if they're black. Stop falling for the bullshit. That's part of that Willie Lynch. That is so part of that Willie Lynch. Like, to not call it out and to look the other way. No, it's bypassed that because just like I said yesterday, I believe that the civil rights movement hurt black people more than it helped us.
Talk about it.
And I will anything. Even I see posts this morning talking about the Supreme Court watch. I don't give a fuck about no affirmative action. It ain't ever helped me. No equal opportunity employer. That hasn't helped me. Even a lot of these so-called ordinances that they put in place that say they help black people. How the fuck does it help me? Because that felony friendly. Felony friendly. So when I look at that felony friendly, because I guarantee it that if two people walked in, a white man and a black man with the same crimes, right? They'll hire that white man before they're gonna hire that black man, and then want to say that they affirmative, that they're equal opportunity, that they're no, it's not. Shut the fuck up. Because you look down at that black man, not because of the crime so much, but because of the color of his skin. And I will continually talk about that all day, because how is it that last night you had kids dressed up as Jeffrey Dahmer terrorizing people, but yet we'll get on Kanye West over words, not over actions, over words, while people are out terrorizing families out here over a costume of that ain't even make believe. That was a real motherfucker out here slaughtering people, But we want to get on people, man. I don't even know what to say anymore. I just know this is that when you are free, when you let these chains off, don't just out here be talking about it that you're free. Because if your words don't show it, if your actions don't show it, I might not always say the right thing. I might not even always have the truth, all the facts. But that's what we're here to learn, to grow together. Because if I'm wrong, I will definitely apologize.
Right.
Because I want to learn. I want to do better. Because when we know better, we do better. But I honestly feel the things that I've learned and the way that the hate that I get is the truth. Because I speak differently than these black people out here that are paid. I'm not about to be kissed. I'm not about to be on my knees. Not about to be on the knees, force feeding these lies to my community. Like I seen, because honestly, what I seen yesterday in Minneapolis, all I could do is shake my head. Because if the city really wanted to be truthful and transparent and wanted to do a press conference, they would have invited everybody to the table and not keep on using the three same black people to tell your lies, to spew your lies. Jacob Frey, Cedric Alexander. Stop using our black community members. And I'm not even going to say, because, honestly, they are black community members, right? But they don't live in my community. They have nonprofits, or they either work in my community, right? They don't live here. So that stop bringing people to the table that don't live here. And if I'm lying, I'm dying. But I'm not lying, because it's public information that these people do not live here in North Minneapolis. They do not have 55411 zip codes. They do not. So when I say bring people to the table, because Operation Endeavor is not a success right now. I'm not going to go up there and listen to that bullshit, because we had 2 mass shootings within a span of 3 hours.
Damn.
We had, even just last week, people don't want to talk about it. And that's why I hate mainstream media. And that's another form of the Willie Lynch. Because they lie to us. People don't want to come out here and speak the truth about how fucked up the murders ain't there. I'll say, yes, murders are down. Murders are down. Yes, I will say that. But gun violence definitely ain't. Gunshots are up. Robbery is up. Carjackings are up. Car theft is up. But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about all these babies getting hit, kidnapped, raped, killed. That's not a success. It's not a success. Because, yeah, murders are down, but deaths ain't. Killings ain't. Because I'll put it like this. Minneapolis, Hennepin County, and every county can probably say this. The overdoses, they ain't never seen it. They ain't never seen the overdose at this rate. And who brings that in? But they want to call me the problem? Why doesn't Nancy Pelosi, why doesn't Joe Biden, why doesn't Amy Klobuchar, Tim Walz, Keith Ellison, any politician that's been in a seat for the last 20 years, I'm not the problem, you are. I ain't never had enough money to bring no cocaine in this country. I don't even like to fly. I can't even swim for that matter, so I don't even get on boats. I didn't bring cocaine to this country, but I did sell it because it was a product in my environment. I seen that it was a product to better my way of life for my family. Just like how some of these people want to say that education was the key to their success, or like Trump, his daddy $100 million loan was his key to his success. I didn't have a silver spoon. I had a plastic one. So when that bitch broke, I did everything in my power. I used super glue, I taped it, put it back together just to put that stability. So that means I was going out there and get it by any means necessary. Because I had to put on a good front for my kids, for my family, so that they could be okay, so that they could feel that safe, so they could feel safe, so they could feel safe. They didn't have to see what was going on here in America. But that ain't the way it goes, because that costs Black America. That costs Black America every day, because we sit here and we listen to these Black leaders that say they're by any means necessary. If they were by any means necessary, they wouldn't be living in mansions. They wouldn't be living in big ass cribs having RVs while the real people are out here suffering. Think about it. Because, I did move away from Minneapolis, but I'm back here to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
To make it better. I came back. And I'm in the middle of this shit. I didn't move. I could have moved to the suburbs. I moved to North Minneapolis to be in the shit, not to be away from it. Because when I used to live here, I was a part of the problem. Now I'm trying to be a part of the solution. But see, the people that used to be a part of the problem, that say they're part of the solution now, are still part of the problem. It's that you have these politicians, these elected officials, that want to say these Negroes are part of the solution when they're actually a part of the problem. So if you're not really from Minneapolis, if you're not really from Chicago, because I'll tell you right now, when I look at my elected leaders in Minnesota, most of these motherfuckers ain't even from here. They not. They from Chicago. They from Detroit. They from Boston. They from wherever. They from Minneapolis, but say they know my community. They don't know my community. Y'all know of my community. You've heard stories, because you wouldn't call it Murderapolis if you actually were from Minneapolis. Because true people from Minneapolis, no, that's not the case. That's not the case. Stop calling my city Murderapolis. Stop calling my gas stations murder stations. Because that ain't what they are. And if they are that, it's because white people done made it that way. Y'all have allowed it to be that way. Because you couldn't go out to Minnetonka. You couldn't go out to you couldn't go out to Lower Merion and call no Wawa a murder station. Think the white people gonna allow that on Lower Merion? Hell no. Hell no. They might allow that on Union Station. They ain't gonna allow all that shit over there in Lower Merion.
Thanks.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to think about it the same way in Chicago. They'll call all of that shit some bullshit in the bad neighborhoods. But the minute you go up to the good parts of Chicago, the suburbs, yeah, they don't want you to talk. They don't allow you to call shit like that. They don't even want to tell the truth about their racist ass histories.
Talk about it.
Pretty little Red Wing. But they don't want to talk about how Red Wing used to hang niggas. How the KKK used to do cross burnings, even back into the late 60s. Or how homecoming events were called Wigger Days. Yeah, they don't want to talk about that. Or they don't want to talk about how all these police departments, because every police department has done something to a black person in America, has been sued. Show me I'm lying, because any city that I've ever lived in, has gotten sued by a black person. So you tell me, what kind of, are we ever going to see change? Because I thought when George Floyd was murdered in front of our eyes, and the way that we uprised, the way that we terrorized our cities, why aren't we doing that now? Why aren't we terrorizing Adidas? Why aren't we terrorizing Goodwills? Why aren't we terrorizing our city councils? Why aren't we terrorizing our jails? Why aren't we terrorizing city property? I know. I know. And we're going to, this is, like I said, this is something that we're going to get back into for the rest of the week, that we're going to talk about this, because I really want to educate people. And we are definitely going to get into more politics as well with it. So definitely be tuned, stay tuned for that. And until next time, meditate through the pain and celebrate the ties that bond, liberate our people, and educate our youth so we can stop the bloodshed. Be the change. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well.
I am not my addiction. I am not the affliction you think you see. I am not the confusion or causes you feel is in need of attention. I am my biggest fan, my biggest enemy. My energy is from flame, and my addiction isn't to blame. I am not the things I did out of desperation that configured a false sense of perpetuation of my slow demise into darkness of substances. I am not the lack of stuff. I am not all the things you dislike. I am the things you neglect to find. I forgot who I truly was inside until I remember my addiction doesn't dictate who I am, will not or refuse to hide. I can be bold and brave all I want. My fears bring tears in their eyes. And that's okay, cause healing requires a release of pride and ceasing of time. I am not my addiction. I am dark. I am light. The addiction is behind a door, in the crevices of night. Trauma and pain from memories of centuries on the verge of crossroads. We say we can't breathe. When there's night, there is always a key. Because you see, the veil is thin, like on Hallows Eve. I am dark. My darkness is my light. I am dark. Inside that dark is my sight. And if I know myself, I can navigate the night. I am free because I know who I am. I shine, align, and define my light, and I am protected with I am sight. I am constantly flowing as I clean dust off my ceiling fan. I let go because I was bored from the flame, destined to wake minds, move hearts, and keep doing my part. I am always hungry, and so I feed my soul with positive flow. I define my destiny by feeling my best me. No mistakes, only experience. I am not a failure. I am divine. I am attractive. I am dark. I am light. And if I know myself, I can navigate the night. False positive is darkness that's uncontrollable, molded and boxed in by expectations, false sense of security and false nature. What you think is white is painted. What you think is prime is tainted. What you think is silence is rage, covered under layers of blame and shame. The root is in the light they projected. It's not your path, they will be corrected. When there's night, there is always a key. The veil is thin, like on Hallows Eve. My darkness is my light. I am dark. Inside that dark is my sight. And if I know myself, I can navigate the night. Cause when there's night, there is always a key. The veil is thin, like Hallows Eve. Projection. The moon mirrors light, and people can mirror light and dark. Don't be a vessel. Shine your light into the dark. Don't be afraid. When there's night, there is always a key. The veil is thin, like on Hallows Eve. When I am dark, I can see the light. When I am dark, I can feel the light. When I am dark, I know I'll become the light. And there lies my soul's sight. When there's night, there is always a key. The veil is thin, like on Hallows Eve.